Welcome to Born on the Bayou Sports, a Houston sports show made for Houstonians by Houstonians. Join Tim Costello and Scott Barzilla every week as they break down the latest in Houston Astros, Rockets, and Texans news. Tim's a former minor league broadcaster, and Scott has written 2 books on the Baseball Hall of Fame. Yeah, if Javier could get it figured out, it would make things a lot easier because he was that guy everybody was counting on this year to be a Cy Young candidate, take that big step forward and help anchor this rotation with Fromber.
Since he's come to Houston, you can look at the development of guys like Carlos Correa defensively, Jeremy Pena defensively. I mean, you can Alex Bregman's, certainly I think a better than average third baseman.
And now you're putting teams in 3rd and 8, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 9. Now here comes Will Anderson. Pin back your ears, let's go. So if you're Bayou born and bred, or just like spending time in the H, sit down, relax, and stay Houston strong. Welcome all my friends to the show that once again is back on Wednesday night, coming off a bye week for the Texans, Gold Glove nominations for the Astros, and a buzzer beater last night for your Rockets. And yet, Scott, we will go to you first before all this for an opening question.
Sure. We were having an interesting discussion, Tim. Most of our interesting discussions actually happened offline, as it were.
Not that these aren't interesting.
Not that these aren't interesting, but we go back and forth. So one of my favorite books is Baseball's Greatest Dynasties, and it looks at teams that are good for 3-5 more years, and you would include your 2017 to 2024 Astros as a dynasty, correct?
Absolutely, I would.
So, how many Hall of Famers do you think we get from that group?
Altuve.
Yeah, I think that's a given.
Verlander.
That's a given.
Garrett Cole.
That's a maybe, because obviously he's coming off of Tommy John, so we'd have to see how he's,
He was on the trajectory for the injury.
Yeah. He's a Cy Young Award winner and probably should have won in 2019.
Yeah. You and I had this conversation about Springer the other day. I think it would take a lot of home runs, I think, to get him into that consideration. Another big postseason run with him as the highlight of it, but it doesn't look like it's working out that way right now.
He does have a dinger tonight, so it's his 3rd of the postseason.
Where's the series at, though?
The Blue Jays are up big today, so if that holds, they'll be down 2-1.
Yeah, I mean it's as close as you can be after 3 games, but they were down 2-0 on the road. I'm sorry, at home. Host the first 2 games, they got beat both games at home. So if they don't end up going to the World Series, then that's not adding to his postseason lore, right?
No, of course not. And Vlad Guerrero is the star, the Blue Jays' runaway star this postseason.
Yeah, so I think so. Write that one out. Reddick's not going. Left field that year's, Beltran probably should be, but he's gonna get caught up in some shit and probably have to pay the price for the Astros scandal. He'll be the first true test of it. I don't know. What do you think?
So I'll go a couple of other guys that see what you weigh in on. Where are you on Correa?
I think this move to 3rd is going to be very pivotal in whether that's a yes or no question for me, because I think health-wise, he has to stay healthy for another 10 years to be a Hall of Famer. He's got to play till he's like damn near 40 at 3rd base and continue to produce numbers, just because he just never collected stats, right? He was never a big power hitter. He was never a high average hitter. He was just really good at a lot of things, but never super elite offensively. Defensively, he is unbelievable. But I just don't think if he stayed on the same career trajectory, career path he's on now, he's not in the Hall of Fame.
Then you have Bregman.
Where he signs next is going to really determine that question.
So, what I found interesting is, the last dynasty in the book, because it was written towards the turn of the century, was that the Yankees dynasty, that, turned around between 96 and, say, 2001. Now, here's a funny one here, Tom. You know how many Hall of Famers are on that team?
96 to when?
2001.
Okay, well, Rogers not in.
Nope.
Pettit's not in.
Nope.
Jeter's one.
Yep.
Sheffield was on that team. He's in the Hall of Fame, is he not?
He is not. He is not.
Well, Sheffield came later. He came later.
Yeah, he is not. There's one other Hall of Famer on that team. But he's kind of like
Mariano Rivera.
Yes. And one other one on that 98 team. Tim Raines was actually on that team.
Okay.
But what I find funny is you have guys like Bernie Williams, Jorge Posada, Pettit, who are very good players, but not in the Hall of Fame. Could you not make a parallel between that team and your Astros? With, Jeter would probably be analogous to Altuve.
Yeah.
Rivera, I don't know if he would have a immediate.
No, we have not had a Mariano Rivera type closer at any point.
I don't think anybody has. I don't think anybody has. But
I would think a Billy Wagner type, quite frankly.
Raines would be similar to Beltran, there for a year. Probably not a significant contributor to that team, but great career. So not every dynasty has 5 and 6 Hall of Famers.
No, and there's going to be that hall of very, very good, right? Like guys are going to have runs that some go off and get paid, like a Chris Bryant type player, like, hey, enjoy Colorado, motherfucker. You took your bag. And that's why I say, like, with Bregman, where he signs next is going to be really critical because, like, he showed some really good signs in Boston. But again, like the injury bug just reared his head with him and took a good chunk of the season away. Now, the Red Sox would love to have him back, obviously, because they traded their third baseman away. So they really were banking on Bregman being the third baseman of the future. But he's going to want $40-something million a year. And not many teams are going to be in the position to pay you that and be a competitive roster and, like, have a good quality medical staff too, right? Like, that needs to be something you look at of what do you guys do on, like, an injury prevention thought process to make sure guys stay healthy. Like, I'm not sure who asks questions in a room as an agent, but, like, that'd be one of mine, right? Like, if I'm coming to Houston, we're having a meeting, I'm going to have a question for them. I'm like, hey, you guys had a lot of issues last year with keeping guys healthy. What are your plans to make sure that my client stays healthy while he's with you?
Well, I got a team that I think he fits well with. See what you think. I go Detroit.
I think, yeah. I mean, they can obviously use a good defender, a solid veteran. Bregman can literally play anywhere on the infield at this point besides first base, right? Like, if you need him at second base, I think he's said for the right situation, he'll play second base. Obviously, he's a Gold Glove third baseman. Came up as a shortstop, so, like, in a pinch, if you really need him to play shortstop, I guarantee you he'd move over there for you. I could see it. I just don't know how willing Detroit is to, like, actually take what they have and build a good roster off of it, right? Like, we've seen some splashy signings in the past, but we've never seen it sustained, right? Like, even when they had that loaded roster, like, pitchers got traded away. They didn't re-sign free agents. Prince Fielder goes to Texas. There was not a sustainability of keeping that group together.
I could see them in the mold of thinking, okay, we've been knocking on the door 2 years in a row. Let's make a big splash and get us over the edge. But I think we're kind of kind of running into the first segment here, Tim. So what do you got us leading off here?
Let's take a look quickly at preseason basketball. Scott, The Athletic currently has your Houston Rockets as the 8th seed in the West going into the season, citing that there's no true point guard, no true real shooting guard, and they're questioning if this team will be able to score in the half court offense. Scott, I'll let you lead it off on your thoughts on The Athletic and their thoughts on Houston's season outlook.
We might have a new scumbag, Tim. Okay, here. So let me ask a couple of questions here, Tim. So, first one, are we a better shooting team this year as currently constructed, or a worse shooting team than last year?
I definitely don't think we're worse. I'd say slightly better, especially, you're definitely better positionally swapping out Durant for, say, a Jalen Green. But now, again, let's look at the projected starting lineup that they're going off of is Sengun, Big Daddy down low with them, Adams with Amen, Durant, and Jabari Smith.
That was the lineup they ran out last night. You know what their plus or minus was when they had the two bigs in the game?
It was huge.
Plus 43. Here's my thing, right? So I start asking questions, right? So this team with Finney Smith is not available yet. So let's take him out. And let's merely trade Jalen Green for Kevin Durant. Who is the better playmaker between those two?
Playmaker. Ooh. I guess Kevin Durant. You want me to say Durant, so I'll say Durant.
Well, like in terms of not only can he get his own shot, but he could get somebody else a shot. Like Jalen Green was not a dynamite passer of the basketball.
No, you're right. You're right. That's you're right.
He could score. So you have Amen Thompson, who can create his own shot and create shots for others. You've got Durant, who can create his own shot and create shots for others. And you've got Sengun, who can create his own shot and shots for others. So the question I would ask the Athletic is, how badly do you really need a point guard?
I think you and I have talked about at what points of the game it would be nice, right? When you want to slow things down in the half court, run some pick and roll, get guys good looks. I think one of the nice things about when we had Chris Paul here, that first run where we almost made the finals before the beef with James and whatever, guys never seem to get into like a true shooting slump, because if you missed a couple in a row, like Chris kind of made sure you got a really good look on your third one to make sure that you didn't really see 3 in a row miss, right? Like sometimes a good point guard just knows when his boy needs a look, right? Like I think you and I would both agree on that point. However, I don't think you need that guy out there for 45 minutes. I do think there's a value in having a lineup of death or whatever you want to call it, like the Rockets have, and having a good point guard who can come in situationally and play 20 to 25 minutes. I think right now that's where the loss of Fred VanVleet hurts you, though, is those 20 to 25 minutes. Until proven otherwise, I think Reed Shepard's a miss. I really do. I'm trying not to be a homer with, the way the Rockets went and who was available at the time and all that other stuff. But like you literally texted me the other day, like, have you ever seen Reed hit a 3? Like it shows in the stat book he's made them.
It doesn't exist.
But like we've never seen it.
What's your, that's my favorite conspiracy theory. It's AI generated stats. It's like, here's this guy. He must have hit at least 2. Let's give him credit for 2. And just kind of
like this game got out of control. They probably put him in, and no one would remember if he hit a 3 or not here. Is Reed Shepherd even real?
Well, I did see him play. I watched a part of the game. I did not see him make. Nay, I saw him make 1 2-point basket. So he has literally scored while I've been watching, but not a 3-ball.
Yeah, I get it was a weak draft class, all that other stuff. Like the point guard you wanted was there locally in town, coached by a guy who has close ties to your franchise. And for whatever reason we whiffed on it. And I get it. I'm trying not to be bitter. I really am. But I do think the one point that the Athletic has is right now we have no way to fill that void until what is it, December? When you can make some trades.
Yeah, I heard, somebody, one of those Facebook ones where they come on, we're going to trade Fred VanVleet and Capella for CJ McCollum. You're like,
I saw that one. Yeah,
that's great, but you can't trade Capella until December.
And CJ McCollum's also not a point guard.
He's not. No, he isn't. No, but they said we didn't have a real 2 guard. He would fit that bill.
I think Jabari's going to thrive.
He did not
play. I really think he's going to play wonderfully out on that wing, especially kind of creating up at the top. We've really forced him into that role of the stretch 4, where that's what he played in college. But guys are undersized in college, right? Like the biggest and tallest are the ones that get drafted. In the NBA, guys his size start at the 3 all the time. So I see a T-Mac. I see a Durant, right? I see just a long, lanky fucking scorer with him. T-Mac took a little bit of time to get going too, Scott.
Well, that, and he doesn't have the handle that a Durant does. But, then again, Durant wasn't Durant his first year out of the league. So, yeah, who knows? I jokingly, we were jokingly talking last night. Gee, is Durant a Hall of Famer? Has he earned enough yet? I'm not sure.
No, this is going to be an exciting year. I definitely think we'll finish better than the 8th seed, right? Like this is basically a team that finished second in the West last year. You bring almost everybody that was of value back. You traded out Jalen Green for Kevin Durant. That's a plus. You added Dorian Finney-Smith. You added Clint Capella. What else? There's one more I'm missing. Another defender, Scott. Who am I forgetting?
I think that's it in terms of additions. But I think we're missing Dylan Brooks, and I think there will be moments where we miss his tenacity. But I'm not going to miss his mouth, giving bulletin board material to other teams.
I think there's other guys who can give you that tenacity. I think Amen's got it in him. I think he's a fiery young player who's kind of starting to understand that. But that was the thing with Dylan Brooks. It was all manufactured, right? Everything just felt so fake. And he was just, he's no different than Draymond Green to me. Like I feel like, again, we've done the joke with like Jack Parkman from Major League 2. We're like, oh, amazing what a change of uniform does for a guy. And then he gets traded again. He's like, his shimmy makes the women here in Cleveland puke.
But yeah, and I think Dylan Brooks. Like Draymond, I think he had his moments, and they have moments, but you need somebody who could give you those moments plus something else.
I would agree. I need you to give me those moments, plus actually like clamp it down on defense and not give the other team bulletin board material that they can then use throughout the fucking series to beat your ass.
Yeah. All right, Tim. We ready to...
Let's talk some Texans. Talk some Texans, Scott. We are coming off the bye, playing at home. I'm sorry, no, playing in Seattle on Monday Night Football. I have said, I don't know how many times on this show, I don't love being in prime time. I've been burned too many times where I wait all week. I watch football all Sunday. Is it my game yet? No, not at noon. No, not at 3:25. No, not at 7. Go to work all day Monday thinking about your game. Then you watch it, and either two things have typically happened in my lifetime. The fucking doors get blown off you from the start, and it was not worth the wait. Or like the Texans toy around with the team like for three and a half quarters, then find a way to blow it at the end. And it was a waste of your Monday night as well, too, just a more gut-wrenching fashion. So, Scott, tell me why this Monday will be different.
Well, number one, Tim, it's not prime time. This is the late night. This is like, staying up watching Jimmy Kimmel. I mean, they're starting at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time.
I hate these double fucking Monday night games.
Yeah, it's lame. But why is it going to be different other than that? I couldn't tell you. This is a team, the Seattle team, that sacked Jacksonville 7 times this last Sunday. This doesn't bode well. They have 20 sacks on the season. Your Texans have, I think, 12, if just to give you a round number there, Tim. But even going into the week, before we've added a 6th game, the Texans had surrendered 23 fewer points than any other team in the NFL. And we're 2-3.
I mean, we came in here after the first 2 games, and we talked about, like, you allowed the points you should allow to win a football game, right? Like defense kind of wasn't your fault this week. Like, you guys did your job. Offense, way to fuck it up. So the stats you gave me don't surprise me. I think this one's going to be a competitive defensive match. The Texans got absolutely roasted by Sam Darnold last year. And I'd like to think they're like, there's no way we're going to let that fuck do that again this year. I really hope that is some part of thought process of, like, we cannot let fucking Sam Darnold beat us again this year. Like, I really want that etched into their brain. But at the same time, you're right. This is a pretty balanced Seattle team. They run the ball well. Cooper Kupp is a fantastic route runner, does a great job of moving the chains. They've used him well since bringing him over. I'm nervous for it, but hey, the offense seems to be clicking. This is probably the biggest test the offense has had so far this season. This is definitely, in my opinion, the best defense we've played. Wouldn't you say so?
I would say so. And obviously on the offensive end, Jackson Smith and Nick Jim, I'm not even going to try that last part. JSN, I'll just say. He's been their best receiver. However, I think what's going to make this different than the Minnesota game last year is I think D'Amico and Matt Burke learned something well into the year last year, where they learned you've got a shutdown corner. Put that shutdown corner on their best wide receiver and just say, you follow JSN for the rest of the game. And Cooper Kupp's going to beat you sometimes, but last year is not a bad second quarter. So I think if you end up having to play a lot of man, I feel pretty good about it.
Do you think they'll be in a situation where, say, it's Lassiter on Kupp, man on man, a little bit of safety help, and Stingley go out and shut down Smith and Jigba?
I think so, and that opens up the doors. If you want to do some blitz, you can. Obviously, if you want to sag back, you're playing 5 secondary right now. So if you want to sag back and you want to make sure that those guys don't beat you, then that's one thing. I don't know about their tight end situation. I haven't really done that much research into it, but
they've got a young tight end who's pretty good. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but there is a young guy there who I'm assuming Petrie would be asked with shutting down.
So then that leaves you MJ Stewart and Bullock as your guys who are on the back end, kind of making sure that those 2 wide receivers don't beat you.
I feel pretty strong about that. I think the defense is going to show up. I have no doubt about that. It's the offense that scares me, Scott. You sent me a list of top trade targets that the Texans should look at. Almost all of them are offensive, mainly focused around the running game, maybe adding another receiver. I thought that was crazy with the amount of receivers we have in our room, adding another one to the mix. You just play the fucking rookies that you spent so much draft capital to go get.
I did not write that article, Tim. I can't take credit.
I know. I looked right away. I'm like, is this guy pumping his own article to me right now, trying to get some extra clicks? But no, it wasn't you. But no, I was just like, just play the ones you have would be nice. But no, I know you want a running back. I know you want one. Brees Hall is going to be a free agent. Why do you want to spend a third or a fourth to get what Brees Hall is going to give you when I don't think it's going to be that much better if you just fucking played your rookies? Woody Marks looks good. I've turned the corner on him. I've watched some footage. I think he has better vision than I give him credit for. I think he's got better hands than I give him credit for. Obviously, he went viral for his one pass block, but he's been really good outside of just the one viral knock on the ass too. So I like the idea of just giving Woody Marks more looks. I don't think we need it. Just first of all, get rid of Dameon Pierce. I don't know why he's even in the building anymore, and just find a fucking free agent somewhere. If you need another body, there are plenty of guys out on the street who had very good college careers who would probably love to come in and be your third or fourth back after a tryout.
Yeah, I think if you were to tell me that Woody Marks and Nick Chubb stay healthy for the next 12 weeks, I'd be okay moving forward without adding anybody. My concern is if one of those two guys goes down, you're in a whole heap of trouble because you mentioned Pierce. Dario Munuwale is unplayable on offense. He's just flat out unplayable. So you've got Jawar Jordan on the practice squad. Do you elevate him if you cut Pierce? Is that a move you make?
I think it's worth considering. Pierce is a waste of a roster spot, right? Like he's lost his role as a kick returner after what Newell did, right? I think we saw there he's kind of going to be a better performer back there than Pierce ever was. Pierce has no explosiveness. He is Ben Jarvis, Green Ellis, right? Like find him a team that wants that 4-yard I formation cloud of dust style. He will happily show up and give you that. That's just not the way this team operates. That's not what we're looking for. And I still just don't understand why we're wasting a valuable roster spot at a position of actual need for a guy who literally will never play. We're in a situation now where you would think this guy would be getting carries, and he still is not.
Well, and the one name that did intrigue me on that list, because I sent it to you before the article was written, was again David I'm not even going to try. The tight end from Cleveland,
Njoku.
He was. I understand there's going to be some discipline applied to him from Cleveland for some reason. I haven't paid close attention to that situation, but they could end up getting rid of him. I would say Mark Andrews, but I don't think Baltimore's selling yet. I think they still fancy themselves as a contender. I think they
don't fancy themselves a contender. Even if they don't fancy a contender this year, I think you have to recognize that injury have plagued your roster, and you still have one of the best quarterbacks that has ever played in the National Football League. And you don't blow it up after one injured year and say, we're selling everything off. Like you say, hey, Lamar will be back healthy next year. We'll be back healthy next year. As long as we have Lamar, the window's open.
Yeah, and so and Njigba as I'm running through my ends here tonight. Njoku. I looked up his numbers though. He has like 22 catches, which through 5-6 games. Hey, I'll take that. And
with
again,
garbage quarterbacks too.
Well, that is true, but I think the part of it is I don't know what his usage is going to be in Houston if he were to be acquired. What I know is that if Dalton Schultz goes down, you are big time fucked. If Dalton Schultz goes down, and to me, you got to have a second guy. Harrison Bryant is not it. I don't need anybody who trips over the 50-yard line. I need somebody who can go out there and catch me a solid 3 or 4 balls a game. And I think he's a guy that could do that.
No, I agree. I mean, yes, Bryant had an embarrassing moment where he would have probably had a touchdown had he not fallen down. I don't think it's fair to judge his talent as a player off that one play. However, I don't, if that's the case, then you really don't want Mark Andrews because he tripped and fell and dropped what would be a game-winning touchdown in the playoffs last year. So
that's true. That's true. You got me there.
No, I don't want to. If you could get David Njoku for cheap, 6th, 7th round pick because he's getting himself in trouble in Cleveland, you think you could straighten him out? Okay, but also let's remember, you thought you could straighten out C.J. Gardner-Johnson, that failed. You thought you could straighten out Deontay Johnson, and that didn't fucking go well either. How many reformation fails do we have to have before the halfway house is closed, right? At some point, you become the fucking Cincinnati Bengals of the early 2000s, and you are not exactly reforming any of these guys.
Well, and this is a crazy thought here, Tim, but there is a term that I've heard called due diligence. And maybe, you have guys on the payroll that could do research and figure out, what is the issue there. Because you're absolutely right. If you want to go in, you want to go back to Ed Reed would be another example of, one of those reclamation type projects that didn't really work out well. So I would definitely want to find out what the issue is there. But to me, I saw a linebacker on the list. That to me is nuts. An offensive lineman, if he's better than Juice Scruggs, maybe. I don't know. I mean, okay, but yeah, none of those really blow my skirt up.
Yeah, I don't think the offensive line is going to get messed with. I just don't see it happening. Again, receivers, crazy thought. Linebackers, a crazy thought. Running back's not the worst thought. I just don't want to give up the draft capital it would take to go get a Breece Hall, who would then most likely leave in the offseason or cost you a fairly expensive deal. You and I talked about it the other day where I'm more willing to draft a running back in the 1st or 2nd round than I am to go trade for one right now with anything less or anything more than a 5th round pick, right? If you're asking me for more than a 5th in return, I'm really not interested in making the move for running back, especially if he's going to be gone at the end of the season.
Yeah, I think your only thing that if you're going to add a guy, you mentioned getting somebody off the street. I think looking at some of those other teams, maybe you could trade like a 2027 or 2028 7th and pick up a guy that is better than Pierce, but maybe not quite as good as Marks and
You're
Chuck.
telling me you can't look around the practice squad of the league and find a guy who is better than Dameon Pierce? You're telling me that on 31 other practice squads, there's not one running back out there that you're like, man, that guy would probably do better than absolutely nothing on Sundays, which is what Dameon Pierce does.
And I thought Jawar Jordan looked good in the preseason 2 years in a row. And 2 years in a row, he's been on the practice squad.
Yeah, I don't get that one either, Scott. I really don't understand what that guy's got to do and what Pierce has. He's got to have naked pictures of D'Amico Ryans or something. There's no other way this guy deserves to keep a roster spot.
He walked in on Cal when he was using his cheat codes in Call of Duty. Says, I got the skinny.
Something. All right, Scott. From guys who should be gone to guys who are hopeful they are immortal, let's talk about the 2 Astros Gold Glove nominees. First and foremost, Mauricio Dubon, a player that I love and you oftentimes like to take a shit on, is nominated for what would be his 2nd Gold Glove. He's played 7 different positions this year, played them all with stellar poise and grace, and is nominated for what would be his 2nd Gold Glove. And more astonishingly to me, Scott, is Cam Smith in right field. This young man played right field for the first time this year exclusively and was absolutely fantastic. He was third in, I think, put outs. He was first in defensive outs above replacement. He was an absolute stud down there, and that's with doing a timeshare down the stretch as the bat faded for Cam.
Yeah, so I have never dissed Dubon for his defense.
I mean, that's fair, but you shit on him.
Never for his defense. So
That's
I looked him up. He's nearly plus 20 combined at every position. And I love the fact that they've added that, because it's basically a utility man Gold Glove award. And I love the fact that they've done that. It's kind of, those guys the ability to play 6 or 7 different positions is not easy, folks. It's not something that you would think. And he was plus on nearly every position that he played. So
he plays them all very, very well.
So I have no problem with Dubon as a fielder. If you're claiming that I shat on him, it would be for the bat, Tim. That would be the
Dubon is a package deal, baby.
Cam Smith, kind of similar season as Dubon, actually. The bat overall was disappointing. You had some high moments there in the first half before the All-Star break, but overall that fade in August and September kind of killed the season. But still remarkable that you take a guy who was a third baseman, say you're playing right field, and he goes out there and it's probably your most valuable fielding regular on the team.
No, he was wonderful at times. He carried this team offensively at times in the first half and in different spots in June. But you're right. Obviously, the length of the season wore on the young man, and major league pitchers making adjustments to him wore on him. But you have to respect the fact that the guy showed up to the ballpark every day and said, even if I'm not hitting well, I'm going to find a way to influence baseball games, and that's going to be playing stellar defense. And he did every bit of that.
Well, and we have to pat ourselves on the back here, Tim. Who have we been calling for as hitting coach?
Michael Brantley.
Seems to be some steam gaining there, Tim. And to me, I'm excited if that were to come to pass. Knocking on wood here. I'm excited to see what he could do with a hitter like Cam Smith. Because Cam Smith strikes me as a guy who's coachable. And I would love to see what he could do with him.
Cam's got so much raw power. He's so quick. He's just the swing's a little bit long, right? Like I think it's just a little bit long, a little bit lanky. A guy like Brantley who could really work on a quick 2 long through, right? Which is always his thought process. I'd love to see it, and I'd like to take just a minute here to give this show just a modicum, just at least a modicum of acknowledgement for the fact that we really got this rock moving down the hill. Okay. Nobody was out there calling for this in June or July, except Born on the Bayou Sports. Okay. We were asking for this in last offseason. The moment Michael Brantley retired, we said he should become the hitting coach. We didn't press it too hard. Okay. But we knew it should happen. Okay. Basically, I didn't want to tell anybody, but I knew it was going to happen before it happened. If you get the reference, you get the reference there. But, ask Pete Hegseth over there. He knows what I'm talking about. But anyway, this podcast really should get some sort of commendation for pushing the Astros in the right direction.
Do they give away Marconis to podcast him?
Pete, where's Pete? Pete, come over here. Come over here and vouch for the fact that we were talking about this.
But I was going to say that, our numbers are not huge, but all it takes is one, Tim. All it takes is that one key listener. Passes it on.
We have interviewed Robert Ford on this podcast. Do we know or not if he continued listening to the show after? I don't know. I'd like to think yes.
And all it takes is that one guy in a position of power who hears the show, and that's all that you need for movement.
What if like one of our listeners was to be Jim Crane? We had a direct ear to Jim this whole time, and we did. I'm on air begging for Correa. Next thing you know, the Correa move happens. You're out there saying, "Hey, so Jesus Sanchez may be a good target." Next thing you know, fucking Jesus Sanchez comes to town. Scott, I'm really curious if either Data Brown or Jim Crane are listeners of the pod.
You never know. And speaking of old foes of
What if they're in the conference room together and they all like the whole front office just listens to our podcast and we only get it as one listener because it's on like speaker, but like they're all sitting around, at least for the Astros portion, they're all just everybody's scribbling notes down and like, okay, what do they say here? What do they say there?
Did you see that James Click had an interview?
I think he'd be an excellent hire for a lot of different teams. Who interviewed him?
The Rockies.
That poor guy. That poor fucking man.
Do you want to accept that job? I mean, Denver's a nice city. I've been to Denver. It's a lovely town.
Can you help me understand why he's not getting better offers? Like he literally stepped in at a very awkward time, kept the thing moving in a good direction, made, pretty savvy moves, I feel like, acquired, players down the stretch that helped us win. Like, what did he do to deserve the black ball?
Okay, so Tim, I want you to think about this. When you're filling out your resume and you're putting in references, who are your references, Tim?
Your former employer.
You think anybody from Houston is talking this guy up?
No, but I think he should fucking point in the goddamn rafters and say, "Look at that shit, motherfucker."
Well, yeah, I think and maybe he needed this spot. Didn't he go to Toronto? I think
so.
Maybe he needed that spot, to kind of to cleanse that resume some.
I mean, but he's got people in Tampa that could vouch for him. As you say, he's got people in Toronto. I bet you outside of Jim Crane, there are people in that organization who value what he did. I don't know. It seems to me like, shame on Jim if he put a fucking the word out amongst owners like, hey, fuck this guy. Because I do think, okay, it turns out he's at least somewhat right about Jake Myers, right? Like he bets his fucking career on Jake Myers. And although it doesn't come to fruition while he's there, Jake Myers is a 300 hitter this year and played a wonderful center field when healthy. So at least like, hey, his bet that, hey, Jake Myers is a starting major league center fielder was right.
Well, and if he does get hired in Colorado, I think they've thrown their last pizza party on deadline day.
Yeah, no, I think he raises the quality of decision making there, but at the end of the day, without buy-in from ownership, it really doesn't matter who your general manager is. Like he could do a great job, but he's not going to get a $200 million budget to work with, right? They're going to say, hey, here's $65 million. Have fun.
No. And,
hey, you used to work for the Rays. You know how to stretch a budget. Come on over.
Well, what's funny is the difference between them and the Rays, though, is that they are anti-technology. Like they think there should be a salary cap on technology, that there should be a limit on the amount of technology that you can buy. So they're not gonna spend a dime on that shit. Could you imagine it? Yeah, every other team's like looking at an iPad, and they get one of those like leapfrog things,
There's oh god, this episode's so disgusting. Again, for our listeners, I am in the middle of a South Park rewatch. The Centipede episode of South Park, right, where Kyle doesn't read the terms and conditions, he gets sewed as the middle piece of the human centipede, but they call it like a centipede because plugged into the girl's ass is the power charger for an iPad. And the reason that iPad exists is because Cartman is getting donated an iPad from Apple because he's like a poor boy because his mom can afford one. So what he does, he glues like a piece of glass like an iPad case. He's just at school like pretending he has an iPad, but like he won't let anybody. So his mom takes him to the store and she's like, "I'll buy you a Toshiba Chromebook." "No, Mom, everybody know I'm poor. Has to be an iPad."
I was saying, the sleep frog. Hey, I could play a spelling game, or I could look at my last at bat. Which one should I do?
It's like you get hired, and like you're getting your company equipment right, and like they're handing out like, and like the laptop's like thick as shit, right? Like it's like a 1998 like thick laptop, and then they hand you and here's your team phone, and it's a Nokia brick phone, and here's your
Windows ME.
here's your pager, and you're like, pager? What the fuck? Why am I getting a pager?
Windows ME. Why do I get Windows ME?
And then they're like, "Hey, we only have so many minutes a month, so also here's $25 in quarters. If you need to stop and use the payphone, that's what the pager is for. So that way we can page you and let you know. Again, we only have 200 minutes on these employee phones, and it's a shared plan. So let's try and be respectful of that, okay?"
All right.
Again, we really want to limit that technology budget here in Denver.
All right.
But with all this, you do also get this black membership card to Chief Buds downtown, okay? And that will allow you, and full access. You can have whatever you want. The weed is free, but we have no technology, okay? Jim,
okay, guys, in order to save technology, whenever it's time for you to come to the ballpark, we're just going to build a bonfire. We're going to send out smoke signals. So just look for the smoke. If you see white smoke, that means it's time for you to come in. You see black smoke, you can stay out an hour longer.
Yeah, instead of a team Twitter, we're just gonna start doing smoke signals from the ballpark when we score. White smoke means we scored. Black smoke means they scored.
All right, are we ready to move on to a favorite?
Yeah, let's give some awards out, Scott.
All right.
Who do you want to punch in the face this week, Scott?
Okay, so in a minor thing, I'm going to punch Tua, and I'm not going to say his last name.
You're terrible with names today.
I am. I'm having a hard time. I think it's just the people that I'm picking to pick on here. So he's being interviewed after the game. The Dolphins are a robust 1-5. So would you agree that Mike McDaniel is not long for this world?
I would very much have to agree with that.
So what does he do? He starts talking about the fact that, well, guys are showing up to meetings late. They don't give a shit. And, well, that points to leadership. Now, this may all be true, but, read the room. This guy's getting shit canned in probably a week or two. Why do we need to kick dirt on him now?
Yeah, it's maybe he doesn't want to go another week or two. Maybe like the environment's just so toxic there that he's like, hey, if I could throw a little shade from the podium. Because like honestly, Mike McDaniels looks like a guy who has not fucking given a fuck in like months, right? Like he is the guy who has put in his notice, right? But like you begged him to stay a little bit longer because he's, so vital to company knowledge. So he's showing up like in worse and worse looking clothes every day. The first week after he turned in his notice, he still came in at 9. Then the second week it was like 9:30. Then like it's 9:45. Now it's like 11:30. He's coming in. He's clocking out at 2:30. And maybe I just have to that's my envisioning of what's going on. Well, he is like turning into the main character from Office Space, where like he's just giving less and less of a fuck as the movie goes on, and he's just like not coming in anymore.
Well, the thing I love is like the interviews. Do you know how you win, Tim? Apparently, you
scoring more points than the other team.
Yeah, you score more points than the other team. Wow, I mean that's insightful. That's high level stuff there. I mean, that's guy like a former UCLA coach talking about that UCLA is in Los Angeles. I mean, it's pretty insightful. Hey, that's top notch. Yeah.
No, it's wonderful, great Great commentary there, Monty. That broadcasting school really paid off.
Yeah, that Tua's putting up good numbers. So to me, it's not like he's hurting his earning potential here. I mean, he's putting up, fine numbers. He's just on a team that sucks. And you've already lost Tyreek Hill. So, I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to fire your coach. He's going to get fired anyway. So be the bigger man and just say, hey, we're all doing the best we can. Hopefully come back next week and turn it around.
No, I don't disagree with you at all. I do think Tua is kind of a douche and looks very much like a prima donna like that. Let's also remember, like, part of the reason that you guys are 1-5 is that you turn the ball over so goddamn much. Tua's turnover ratio is sky high, and they all come at like god awful times, absolutely god awful times. So, yeah, that's probably on you, homeboy. Mike McDaniel's ain't out there pulling the trigger, right? Like, for all we know, he may be calling a perfect game, right? And Tua's the one out there misreading the defense and throwing picks. I don't know.
Yeah. So who do you got, Tim?
I am going to punch the NFL in the face for whatever the fuck happened at 8:00 in the morning on Sunday this week between the Denver Broncos and the New York Jets. Okay. First of all, that was a dog shit representation of football to another nation. To put that game out there and say, like, yeah, this is what we do in America. Come on by. Like, that was fucking terrible. Absolutely fucking terrible.
Jets.
And like, as a fantasy football player who started Sutton in that football game, what the fuck happened on offense there, Denver? Like, what are we doing? I get that you guys won the game, that's great, but like, if this is what happens when we go play in England, then like, why are we playing in England? If you go over there and either the field is too rough or the weather or whatever it is, like, pick a better stadium, pick somewhere with a fucking dome. Like, I don't understand how anyone over there. Why are we sending the Jets? First of all, why the Jets are a bad organization, they're a bad football team for 90% of my life. Like, they had 1 or 2 good years with Chad Pennington. They had 1 good year with Brett Favre. I'm trying to think. They had a year or 2 with Mark Sanchez where they made a couple runs. Like, in my lifetime, which is 35 years, the Jets have been a bad fucking franchise for a majority of it. Why are we sending them over there with a first-year head coach, a defensive head coach, a quarterback who's never found his footing in the NFL? What are we doing? What are we doing? And why are we destroying my fantasy football output by putting that game there?
And can we spare a word here for Mark Sanchez? I mean, how many times has this happened to you, Tim? I mean, you order DoorDash. you order DoorDash, and the driver shorts you the gravy. I mean, at that point, knives are out, baby. I mean, fists are getting thrown.
I mean, again, I hate to relate this to South Park again, but there's a great episode where KFC becomes illegal, and the guy like tries to give Cartman KFC gravy cut with Boston Market gravy.
Yes.
And like, he literally has the guy like on his life on his knees begging for his life after. He's like, "You trying to fuck me, motherfucker? You trying to fuck me right now?
All right, just take it. But yeah, I mean, okay. Anyway, I'm sorry to interject there, Tim.
No, you're good. This is the whole point of the show, is you and I interjecting with each other. But no, I just think I'd like to punch somebody for that one, Scott.
Yeah, I give you a hat tip on that one. The Jets, it's kind of like the Giants being on national TV 5 times a year. It's like, when's the last time the Giants are good?
Oh my God, yeah. Why don't, like, literally last year, I think I counted, it was like 6 Jets primetime games, 5 Giants primetime games. It's just like, why? Aaron Rodgers is old. Like, he looks rejuvenated in Pittsburgh. I don't know what's in the water in the Steel City. Well, maybe it's just that the Jets fucking suck.
Yeah, it is. All right, Tim. Moving on to the horse's ass of the week.
Who do you have for us, Scott?
I got you the whole Penn State situation.
Oh, okay. We're okay.
That whole Penn State. And so to me, I don't know. Do I get mad at James Franklin for getting over on Penn State, on the boosters? And I love the way the headline, the way the article is written. His buyout is more than 49 million. Okay, so how much more than 49 million is it?
I think it's 7 million more. I think it's 56.
Why not just say the buyout's 56? It's more than 49 million. That seems like an oddly specific number to land on, particularly when it's not the actual number. But I'm sorry, I just don't get these, and where I'll include James Franklin in here is all of these, I'll just call them assholes, like Dabo Sweeney. We need to protect the amateur nature of this sport, all while you're getting paid $10-15 million a year. What, hypocrite much? I mean, you've got the salary, right, Tim? Then you've got the coaches show. Then you got the coaches clinics. Then you probably teach a class in coaching football. Because I remember at TCU, Billy Tubbs had a class in coaching basketball. And I think he showed up for the first day of the class, and that was the last time you saw him. But who's getting paid for teaching that class, Tim?
Probably have a car dealership sponsorship somewhere along the way. Probably, for Dabo, you're probably in some commercials for whatever chicken stand of choice they eat in College Station. I know there's some kind of famous chicken stand. I mean, you were making bank, right? Yeah, like and up in Penn State, right? That's the biggest team around there. I guarantee there's a car dealership with his face plastered on a billboard somewhere. Coach's show. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
And so the thing is that so they're 3-3, right? So could they still win some games and go to a bowl game? Absolutely. I mean, are they going to the playoff? No. I mean, that loss to Northwestern and UCLA in back-to-back weeks kind of knocked them out of that one. But UCLA looked awfully good this last week, so maybe UCLA figured something out after they fired their coach. But see, here's the thing that gets me when you fire these coaches in October. Who are you going to hire in October?
It's not about that, though.
And are you gonna give Mike Gundy a call? He's a man. He's more than 40. Maybe give him a whirl. Like I'm hearing that the Florida's about to fire Napier. So why not just fire him now? I mean, if you're going to sit there and leak that crap, and then they're sitting there already talking about all these coaches they're going to reach out to. It's just you don't see this shit in the NFL. You don't see Cleveland, we're going to fire Kevin Stefanski in 2 weeks. We're going to reach out to Mike Tomlin. Yeah, we're going to reach out to him. And who else can we reach out to? Yeah, we'll reach out to Shanahan. Yeah, we'll reach out to Shanahan. We'll bring him in here. I mean, do you see NFL teams sitting there going like, let's look at coaches that are currently head coaching and let's poach them in the middle of the season? No, it's bullshit. Nobody does that.
No, I do have to agree with you in some ways. But I will say this, a couple of things, especially with the Penn State situation. First, you kind of almost were forced to do it from a recruiting standpoint. Kids were flipping. Like the report is that kids were flipping their recruits from Penn State to go to like Ohio State, Indiana, things of that nature, right? So if you're starting to lose the recruits, that's when you do have to make a move, right? So I do understand it midseason from that perspective in college versus the NFL a little bit more. And where I'm going to jump in, because I also wanted to make the people who build out these contracts my horse's asses, right? Why do you need a $56 million buyout, right? Like, the nature of college football is so that these guys are going to leave, right? Like, that's part of it. You're just like, you should be paid $56 million as an organization because it goes both ways, right? Like they would have gotten if Ohio State wanted James Franklin, right, and came in and said we want him to be our coach, Penn State's got to get paid too, right? That's why that buyout is in place. These things have to go, right? Like this is what's corrupting the sport is the fact that this guy gets $56 million for getting fired. And then to top it all off, we're starting the conversations, as you said, in October about a guy in Indiana who's done a wonderful job building a program out of nothing, who has every indication that he doesn't want to leave his job. He's told people he doesn't want to leave his job, and Coach Signetti up there. And we're going to now spend all of October, all of November, all of December, all of the playoff run talking about will he defect from Indiana to go to Penn State? Like what good does that do the narrative, right? Like you're better than that as a organization that covers sports. Like you're better than that. Why are we speculating in fucking October who they will go talk to? Because really it's not the university. It's ESPN, it's Fox, it's all these other people who are like, yeah, they're going to reach out to Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer would be a great. I've literally heard that name today. Urban Meyer would be a great hire if you want to go on a 3-year run because by year 4 you hate him. If you want just 2 years, why don't you just reach out to Nick Saban, see if you can get him out of it? Like, is your airtime so vapid you have nothing else to talk about that we're gonna several days later talk about should Nick Saban come out of retirement to go fucking coach Penn State? Are you kidding me? That guy's living the life right now. You would get laughed out of the goddamn room if you came into him and said, do you want to leave this cushy job where you work like 1 or 2 days a week and get to play golf and make shit tons of money to get back and grind that shit out as a 70-something-year-old? What do you say?
Well, he's an Airbnb host, huh?
That is true. He does have some side businesses going on too.
But I'm gonna to do my hat tip. I'm gonna kind of take your flow here. And I'm going to hat tip Indiana University for beating Oregon. And here's my thing on that situation. You're talking about the pundits, and you're absolutely right that the pundits are horrible. But my thing is that Indiana is a Big Ten school, is it not?
It is.
And Big Ten is one of the 2 major conferences in America, is it not?
It is.
So why do you need to leave? And I think he's probably looking at it from that standard point as well. He's going to be fine. He's going to get in the playoff. I mean, he could probably lose 2 games in between now and the end of the season and still get in the playoff. So what I think where I understand is like, let's say, and I don't know if my wife's going to hear me in the background, but let's say you're out of Tulane, right? That's where U of H got their coach from. That makes perfect sense because you're in the All-American Conference, which isn't going to go anywhere shit unless you go undefeated, to the Big 12, which is probably the 3rd ranked conference in the country. Those kinds of moves make sense. A move like to South Florida to one of the Big 4 conferences, that makes sense. What doesn't make sense is going from one of the 2 major conferences in the country to another team. Like they're talking about Lane Kiffin going from Ole Miss to Florida. Why?
I've heard him linked to Penn State too.
Why would you leave a place where you have built something that's in a really good conference and go, well, I'm just going to do a lateral move to this place that's in shambles and because Joe Pa won a national championship back against Vinny Testaverde back in 1988. Hey, I feel good.
Oh, yeah.
For real. Come on. Hey, Tim Tebow won a national championship at Florida. That was what, in the early 2000s? Hey, it's a gold mine. Come on.
And I think that more hurts their point, right? Like they talk about these things like Florida is some kind of amazing place to like, no, the way that college football works is like when a coach and recruits align in the right conference, things can happen. The right conference right now is either the Big Ten or the SEC. Indiana, if they win the Big Ten, means that they're going to get a fucking great seeding in the college football playoff. You would get just the same opportunity to win a national championship, whether you win the Big Ten at Indiana or at Ohio State or in Penn State, right? Like the Big Ten winner, regardless of which one of those schools are, has a great seeding in the college football playoff. So why, as long as the school supports you and gives you the things that you need to go win, so like, for example, Purdue's in the Big Ten, right? I think if you have a great little run at Purdue and they're not going to expand what they do on a football spending side of things, it makes sense to maybe move to a little bit bigger school. Okay,
or
I'll get that.
Minnesota or something like that.
Wisconsin's been known to not exactly want to spend on assistants, but Indiana has shown Signetti like, hey, we want to grow this program with you, man. So from that perspective, I don't see why he'd ever leave, and I wish, it just sucks for him and his team that they're going to now hear that for the next 3 months.
All right, Tim. So are we? You still got yours.
Was mine. Was the people who write these contracts with these huge buyouts, because it's just ruining the game.
Who's your hat tip though?
Oh, my hat tip this week. I am going to hat tip Matt and Trey. Okay, I understand. We all probably watch the show, but some of these old episodes are still so fucking brilliant, Scott. Like, we literally have a discussion. I just watched the Crack Baby Basketball Association one the other day. We're literally like Cartman sitting there talking to the University of Colorado, asking like how they get away with not paying their slaves. And it's like we're literally having this conversation today, and this episode came out 15 years ago, right? So I really would. I love the show so much. It's so well done. This is not my first time watching it, but really just spot on how accurate they were with some of the commentary that didn't always have to be so pointed and political the way it was this year, or has been this year, last few years, which we talked about last week. It was just great to see them make fun of some of the things that are happening in society, like Jersey Shore, when that episode happened, or the NCAA stuff. Or everybody sniffing their own farts when they all got Priuses because they're so full of themselves. Like, that stuff was just really, really funny at different points. Man, Bear, Pig, was really, really funny.
Yeah, I agree. Great show. I was sitting here. Yeah, I was thinking of the Cartman as, how do I reach these kids?
I have to, but the whole time it's just he teaches them how to cheat.
Yeah,
like he's not actually like he's like you want the advantage of a white man, you have to cheat, and then when you get caught, you just say, "I didn't understand the rules.
I misinterpreted the rules. All right, it is that time. I think for the segment everybody loves.
It's our favorite segment.
It's our favorite scumbag. So I am going to go with. I'm just going to call this person internet historian.
Okay.
And so because I made a comment in one of my previous blogs, not my last one. My last one was a little bit more personal. I don't know if you had a chance to look at it, but it was a little bit more personal. But the one before that, I laid out very simply that a majority of history and political science professors, academics, agree that fascism is a right-wing ideology. To me, it's obviously a right-wing ideology. And I don't know if you've ever have you ever been involved in a situation, Tim, where somebody says something so outlandishly stupid that you're left speechless?
I didn't have it happen often until about 5 years ago, and then it happens now fairly frequently.
I mean, it happens to me in the classroom. I mean, you could probably ask Haley. Kids say stupid stuff, and you're just like, I don't even know what to say to that.
I don't even know.
But here's this guy, and he was confident because he kept coming back at me to the point where I had to end up muting him and unfriending him. And it was like, it is a left-wing ideology because Mussolini was socialist. So here's what I figured out is that there's two things. Number one, you have somebody who, instead of looking at what is established academic record, is trying to find any strain he possibly can to sit there and say that, oh, no, it's left wing. But It doesn't make any sense. It never did make any sense. And the whole thing is that everything that's negative has to come from the left. That's what that's figured out. Is everything's left. So like when you had Trump on the trail going like the communist fascist, and you're like, those are two opposite ends of the spectrum there, bud. I don't know how you can be a communist fascist, but okay, the socialist, communist, fascist. You're just throwing out
Democrats.
You're just throwing out words. You're just throwing out words, and words don't have any meaning anymore. And that's what's so frustrating, is that we used to be able to agree that, number one, somebody who considers themselves to be an expert, you probably ought to listen to them. But number two, even if you're going to disagree with them, you should acknowledge the fact that a majority of academia says clearly this is a right-wing ideology. And the thing is, he started off talking about, I can't believe you teach history. Well, technically, I don't anymore. I'm a special education teacher, but, thanks for playing anyway. But if I'm saying the same things as academia overwhelmingly, then wouldn't that make me a good history teacher, Tim? If I were saying the same things as academia, I would think so. And I tried to answer back, but it was just like, in fact, he was hanging on the term corporatism. It's like, what's the root word of corporatism, dipshit?
Corporate. I'm not the dipshit, but I'll answer it as corporation.
Yeah. Are corporations communist? Huh. Not the last time I checked. And so to me, to hang on the fact that maybe Mussolini may have been a socialist at this point, okay, let me tell you a little bedtime story. You know that Ronald Reagan used to be a Democrat? People change. Oh my goodness.
He left the Socialist Party because he didn't think it was authoritarian enough, and he was worried it would lead to like globalism. So he wanted more of a nationalist perspective. This is why he worked off of a movement that a poet had used post World War I to steal a whole island in Italy. He marched on an island and just like stole it basically until he was told to return it. He was like, there's something going on here. I could probably get a little movement started out of this.
And here's my favorite part, as you pointed out, Tim. Who ended up killing Mussolini?
Communists and socialists strung him up from the streets.
Why would they string him up?
Oh, it's because he murdered and killed them first. He murdered and killed them first. Same with the Nazis.
But let me try to understand this. If he were a communist or socialist, why would he kill communist and socialist? I don't understand.
MAGA brain can't get there, Scott.
Can you explain it to me like I'm a 5-year-old?
I thought I tried to Justin. I won't say his last name. It's the opposite of down, and the place you go on Sunday to worship. But either way, I tried to explain it as well, but that guy's a fucking piece of shit. I told you to block him months ago. He does nothing but like troll your articles. He disagrees with every bit of how you live your life. And there's no amount of facts that will persuade him because it was called the Nazi social or the National Socialist whatever party, right? Like, let's not judge them by the actions and things that they did over a period of time. Let's just go with the name that they picked, right? So I'm going to start the Organization for Men with Exceptionally Large Penises, okay? And we're never going to actually do any measurement. We're just going to let people assume that whoever's a member of this organization and carries a card, and there will be a card, and it will be dick-shaped, that we have big dicks just because we're in the Organization for Men with Exceptionally Large Penises. So we don't have to actually like check anything besides the name, Scott. So if you want to get in on this, let's start a new grift, and we're going to start a new organization for men with exceptionally large penises.
And we could actually, teamwork it with fake.
And I have an update on that because the sponsorship's going really well.
All right. So who's your scumbag though? We got to get there first.
Okay. My scumbag this week is none other than Mr. Charisma, Mr. come over for a party and steals your couch and fucks it kind of guy. J.D. Vance, okay? Some Telegraph messages came out this week of young Republicans, which we can essentially call the Hitler Youth, right? Like, let's call a spade, and we'll call it the Trump Youth or whatever you want. But like, this is the Hitler Youth, and a series of very hateful and very disgusting messages came out from their Telegram chat, right? And I think any sane or rational person would read these and go, oh my God, that's horrible. Oh my God. And if it was a part of an organization that I was representing, I'd be like, oh my God, we don't condone this. Like, oh my God, this is horrible. Oh my God. And instead, what does JD Vance do, Scott? He gets up there and goes, well, if you read what that other lady, the Democrat, said, it's way worse. So, it's just locker room stuff. It's really not that big a deal. This is just how people talk. And Scott, you and I text back and forth. At any point, if our text chat like got leaked, right? If Tim and Scott's text thread of over the time that we've done this podcast got leaked, other than Air Dictator getting pissed off about what we say about him, would you like ever be embarrassed of the things that we talked about? Like,
Of course not. And we should give a secondary hat tip, now that you mention him, to George Stephanopoulos, because that's what you do to people who are lying sacks of shit.
And a third hat tip to the editor who cut away but still let the sound go, so you could like see him whining. You could hear him whining, but you couldn't see him anymore. That was just wonderful television work. But yes, for that piece of shit who has done nothing but like I think we all know Trump is circling the toilet here, right? Like, let's be honest. Like, he had what I have to think is a giant stroke like a month and a half ago based on his disappearance. Then JD Vance comes out and says, like, I'm ready to lead, yada, yada, yada. Then Trump makes his return with his whole fucking face paralyzed. So that's why I think stroke. Then Charlie Cook gets shot, and they use that as an opportunity to try and boost the popularity of JD Vance by having him host Charlie Kirk's podcast from the fucking White House. Then they have just been trying to get him out in front of people as often as possible. Then Trump's sitting there talking about, like, yeah, it's too late for me. I'm not going to heaven. That's not happening. Like, no fucking shit. Like, ask any national priest and they'll give you the same answer. Purgatory would be too nice. But no, like, they're trying to present JD Vance to us as like this cool hip podcast hosting kind of guy. And then like he can't even make the layup that you give him, right? Which is come out and be like, yeah, that was awful. We don't condone that. Instead, it's fan the flame. Like, hey, let's protect the fucking Hitler Youth at any cost.
Well, and I love the fact the subject of that ABC show, which was basically, didn't a cabinet secretary take $50,000? Did he give it back? Well, I don't know. Yeah, sure. He's been paid $50,000 over the course of his life. Sure. Yeah.
And then to be like, well, we asked you a question and you did not answer that question. And he's like, I answered it. He's like, no, you said a lot of things, but at no point during that, it literally reminded me of like Billy Madison, where he's like, at no point of that did you even come close to an answer. And may God have mercy on your soul. We're all more stupid for having heard it. Like, that's literally what he sounded like to me in that moment.
All right. Are you guys
Scott,
an update for us?
I do have an update. We teased some things last week regarding a potential golf sponsorship. Now, we didn't want to give away too much about who the player was going to be, but I think, one way or another, it did get out. It leaked out during the show that it was me. I was sponsored by the organization as I make my attempt to qualify for the Public Links Amateur Championship. I will be sponsored by the financing of aquatic kangaroo exploration. Now, I will say the bag has become immaculate now, Scott. All right. Since acquiring the sponsorship from Fake, I regripped all my clubs. Okay. I added a couple extra layers of tape and a little half layer at the bottom for the bottom hand to kind of taper it a little bit, trying to relieve some of that pressure on my hand because I get a little pain in the hands from gripping too hard. And I did acquire the gap wedge that matches my set that I've been after for about 5 years. So I am now, from a gear perspective, ready to go out and compete at a high level. Shot 1 under on the back nine last week, and that was before all these gear changes. I just tested out the theory on gripping with the wedges. So now I'm ready to get it dialed. I'm ready to make a run, and I'm ready to let America know through my good play that using kangaroos to explore underwater depths is a realistic possibility.
All right, Tim. So, excuse my expression here, but do you need a bag man?
I will be needing a bag man. Auditions will be held. I can definitely say your name will be eligible to be put in, Scott. I just, with the size of the bag that we're going to have because of this fake sponsorship, I wonder if you can handle the staff bag for 18 holes across multiple days.
I'm going to a trainer 2 days a week here, doing some workouts.
Okay.
And I can read some greens. So
my biggest fear is that it'll be like Tin Cup where he's trying to qualify. Halfway through, I have to carry my own bag because the guys, I'm done.
He always wore horn frog gear. I remember that actor.
That's exactly. I don't know. That guy's obviously not in as good a shape as you are. But if you're out there in your TCU gear, am I going to get left on the 13th hole with my own bag, having to throw the headphones on and walk it in? As Scott's being attended to in the medical tent.
Let's hope not, Tim.
But I will keep America posted. I have a round scheduled for Sunday. I'm ready to start this journey to help get the word out, Scott. The whole reason we're doing this is for fake. Again, I reluctantly accepted this challenge. I didn't want to take the sponsorship money. Scott literally forced me. He said, "Hey, your handicap's now at a point where we're ready to sponsor you." It was a whole conversation. My agent, made it happen. And by agent, I don't really have an agent and I can't really be sponsored. So really, let's just forget all of this because it is an amateur channel. We have a benefactor, not a sponsor. So let's just forget everything that was said. Hush.
You might have an actual bag man who waits for you in the parking lot.
Race, what's it? At the end of the greatest game ever played, where they're like, "Raise the cap for a cat," whatever the caddy's name is. Yeah. It's like everybody's passing him money.
Scott needs money. He's a teacher. Get him some money.
I wonder with NIL how that works with like the USAM. Like, can you get NIL money as a golfer and still play in the USAM? Because at that point, I guess as long as you don't get money for winning, the tournaments, we could still be paid to sponsor.
Yeah, they're talking about that in Stick. If you remember that, they'd actually loosen some rules on that.
Yeah, so we could throw something we could have the kangaroo on the shirt. Sponsorship's back on. It's no longer a benefactor. It is a sponsor again. You don't have to be quiet about it. Everybody can talk it up.
All right, Tim.
That's all we have for this week, Scott. Anything you want to get in before it's too late?
Nope, I think we're good.
All right, Rocket season closing in very, very quickly. Hopefully the Astros close in on Michael Brantley. We'll have it all for you when it happens next week on Born on the Bayou Sports.